Well, here again with another wrestling review. This time it's NXT from July 12th, 2022. It just finished. We just finished the women's title match. Usually I go into these things kind of spoiler free, but I pretty much talk about throughout this entire review that I took notes about how I saw this coming. And if you were here for my last week's review, I completely saw this coming as well. And that is the heel turn of Cora Jade on her own tag team championship partner, Roxanne Perez. That did happen tonight. We started the show out with Roxanne being attacked in the parking lot, and then we ended the show with Roxanne trying to gut it out in the title match, but the heel turn happened. So usually I go through these reviews kind of spoiler free in case you didn't watch the show, but it was too much to not even talk about at the very beginning here, just since I talk about it throughout the show, how, oh, it looks clear as day that Cora did it. And if you remember my review from last week, it pretty much seemed like that's what we were going to get. I've watched way too much WWE in my day to know that a team that kind of sprang together out of nowhere. Like all of a sudden, we're told Cora Jade and Roxanne are best friends, which, yeah, I'm sure some of that is, but just on TV, it kind of came out of nowhere. So I've watched way too much WWE to know that since they just won the tag titles last week and now there's going to be a singles title match this week, there was no doubt in my mind that there was going to be a heel turn tonight from Cora Jade, which is exactly what happened. We'll see how that develops, but that is going to be a pretty interesting story. We've now got the NXT Women's Tag Champions feuding with each other, and they just won the titles last week. So I'm assuming maybe in a week or two, they're going to have a title match, or they'll just vacate the titles, which is a possibility. But I'm assuming maybe Toxic Attraction yet again will win the titles, and Cora Jade will like leave Roxanne Perez out to fight them 1-on-2 or something along those lines. So we'll have to see where that goes. We'll get into that whole show as we go here. But yeah, let's just kind of take a step back now. I like I said, I usually go through these spoiler free, but that was just too much. Since I talk about it throughout the entire thing, not to just mention at the very beginning. I'll talk about it a little bit more at the end and as we go through here. But last week we saw 4 different titles matches at the Great American Bash event. Only one championship changed hands, of course. That was Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez. And then we knew coming into tonight that Roxanne was cashing in her breakout tournament contract for winning the breakout tournament against Mandy Rose, and they will fight in the main event. So it's definitely also announced for. I was definitely looking forward, and like I said, I pretty much knew that match was going to end with Cora Jade turning heel. Mandy has been champion for 255 days, I believe. So it was going to be a pretty big deal if Roxanne was able to beat her. So either way, I was looking forward to the show, regardless of what happened. We were also announced for tonight was Apollo Crews versus Giovanni Vinci, which was set up in a promo last week. I was looking forward to that. That should be a throwback to black and gold greatness. And then we've also were announced that 2 big bruisers, Solo Sikoa and Von Wagner, should be a slobber knocker, and it was. So we'll get into those. Those were our announced matches. Before we get into what happened this week, let's just take a quick look, like I do every time there's house shows for NXT. We take a quick look what happened. It's a good way to see what upcoming things are on the horizon or whatnot. So let's take a look at the 2 NXT live house shows. These are non-televised events. So again, this is not the results from tonight. This is over the weekend. First and Friday night, they were in Citrus Springs, Florida, where Joe Gacy started the night out defeating Roderick Strong. I had forgotten that Joe Gacy and the Dyad had entered the Diamond Mine gym a few weeks ago. So maybe this tells us that this story will continue on TV, maybe setting up a Dyads versus Creeds match. So again, this is from the Citrus Springs house show on Friday. Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez did get to successfully defend their titles once before all this happened tonight. It was against Gigi and Jacy. So the first title defense happened for Team 2001 on Friday at the house show. Again, just going to quickly go over the house show results and we'll get into tonight. Also at the house show, we got to see Jensen and Briggs defend the NXT UK tag titles against Pretty Deadly. And this is another feud that they've been setting up on TV. And pretty cool that we get to see the NXT UK titles defended in house shows here in America. So yeah, this gets set up. This match is confirmed for next week. We set this match up with a pretty funny segment later on. Also at the house show on Friday, Carmelo Hayes defeated in a triple threat match to retain his North American title, Ikemen and Wesley. So kind of weird that Ikemen would have been added to this match, but also how great is Carmelo versus Wesley going to be when they have a one-on-one TV match, hopefully for the title. So great. So that's great to see them get a little bit of in-ring work here before they go on television. The next one was Tiffany Stratton defeating Amari Miller. That's an important match to give both these women more experience. I think Tiffany Stratton's just coming up on her 20th match of her career, and Amari Miller not many more than that as well. So that's an important thing for these house shows, is to get people experience when they don't have many matches under their belts. And Apollo Crews defeated Zion Quinn, another match that's been teased on TV. And I write down here, we might see Zion interfere in tonight's TV match, Crews versus Vinci. And yes, spoiler alert, that is what happens. So I definitely called that one. Solo Sikoa got to practice his match that he was going to have tonight on the Friday house show, defeating Von Wagner. Another thing they do at house shows is get people ready for their TV matches, get the kinks out, work on some stuff while the cameras aren't rolling. So the main event of the Citrus Springs Friday night house show was Braun Breaker defeating in a title defense NXT title match against JD McDonough. So that is Jordan Devlin. Remember, JD McDonough made his debut last week attacking Braun Breaker. So pretty cool for the live crowd here to see a title match right away. I'm sure this is going to be the next title defense for Braun Breaker on TV whenever he's healed from his shoulder, quote unquote, shoulder injury. So, then the other house show that took place this weekend was on Saturday night in Orlando, but it was not at the CWC. It was at a smaller arena in Orlando, or not smaller, but like probably bigger than the CWC, but not like a giant arena. So anyway, that one started out pretty cool. It would have been a good show to go to, because it started out with a number one contendership battle royal for to see who can go in the main event of that same night. So this is Saturday night's house show. And that was won by Tony D'Angelo, who defeated Bryson Montana, Channing Lorenzo, Cruz del Toro, Edris Enofe, Edwin Grande, Guru Raj, Javier Bernal, Joaquin Wild, Malik Blade, Namidi Aguayo, Quincy Elliott, Sanga, Solo Sikoa, and Von Wagner, and Zion Quinn as well. I almost missed him at the end. So pretty crazy that would, if you were going to go to a house show, that you get to see a cool battle royal like that. Interesting idea. The winner of the first match fighting in the main event at the same event. We also got two NXT debuts in this match, Edwin Grande and Namidi Aguayo. And don't put those names into your memory bank yet, because those are their real names. They have not been given their real ring names yet. And we know that since those are their real names, that they're not going to be able to keep them. But I'm guessing Tony D'Angelo won this battle royal thanks to help from not only Stax, but Cruz and Joaquin as well. I'm just assuming. I haven't seen any pictures or video from these events, but that gives me, since those guys were in the match, Elektra Lopez was on the outside as well, so she could have been helping since it's non-disqualification. Also in the house match in Orlando, we've had Nikita Lyons defeating Elektra Lopez, another important women's match to gain them some more experience. Also, that match sounds pretty great. Slobber knocker in the women's division. I hope to see that match on TV eventually. Then Trick Williams defeated Miles Bourne. Miles is just starting out. He's been featured on Level 1 for the last month or so. He made his debut alongside Hank Walker back in the first round of NXT house shows about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and then has been featured on Level Up in the last month or so. So keep your eye out on Miles Bourne. I'm still haven't been confirmed, but I'm pretty sure I've heard that he's deaf. He can't hear. And he's also got 17 years of folk style amateur wrestling under his belt, despite only being about 23. So Miles Bourne is going to be a specimen. And Trick Williams, again, is turning a corner lately with his matches getting better and better. So another good match here on the experience end to get people experience. Then there was a mixed tag match, 6-man tag, 6-person tag. Andre Chase, Bodie Hayward, and Thea Hale, all 3 members of Chase U, defeating Duke Hudson, Grayson Waller, and Tiffany Stratton. Another NXT house show where they give Duke Hudson a random partner here. Last time it was Quincy Elliott, and this time fellow Australian Grayson Waller. So we haven't seen the Grayson Waller and Tiffany partnership interact where in a while on TV, but maybe that partnership isn't over with just based off of this house show. And real cool to see all three members of Chase U having a match together. This should help with their chemistry, not only in the ring, but in their promos going forward. And we do get to check in on their field trip to the UK this week. Hopefully, we get to see them in some matches on NXT UK as well. Then we got, so again, this is from the house show in Orlando. NXT Women's Title match. Mandy Rose defeated Ivy Nile, and that's an interesting one. That's the first time that Mandy and Ivy have been in the ring together. And I'm thinking if Roxanne Perez didn't join NXT, then we could have been seeing Mandy feuding with Ivy Nile right now. And it's probably a good thing that that didn't happen. That way we can take more time in developing Ivy Nile. I think she's going to be a star. I think she's got star potential, but right now, not quite the finished product. Oh, what's up, Hassan? I'm doing good. Thank you. Um, Really good stuff though. I'm sure that match was fun to watch. That would have been one I wish I could have watched live. So again, I'm still on the house show. Giovanni defeated Hank Walker, just like Miles Bourne. Hank Walker debuted in the first weekend of the house shows about a month ago. Has now been featured on Level Up. Walker's shown some promise with really big size. He had some explosive moves on Level Up. Check out my Level Up review on the same channel if you want to know more. But he could be a main player in a couple years' time. He's got some big size and athletic ability, former NFL player. So Indy Hartwell then defeated Lash Legend. Lash is the number one prospect in my mind that needs these house show matches to make sure she's not hurting anybody else in the ring, because I think she's got the potential to be a star. Indy's been in NXT for a long time, so hopefully she was able to teach Lash a little something in that match. Just two more matches here for the house show from Saturday. The Creed brothers defeated one of the Dyads and Joe Gacy. The reports don't know which Dyad member it was. If I was there to watch, I would have been able to tell you. But the fact that, again, Gacy fought Diamond Mine both nights this weekend all but confirms that the Diamond Mine Dyad rivalry will be happening soon. The main event, of course, Tony D'Angelo getting a title shot for winning the Battle Royal earlier on, and he came up short in his match against Braun Breaker. Tony won the Battle Royal, like I said, and hopefully it was a good match, and we can see this match on TV in the next couple months or so. I think that maybe either Braun Breaker loses the JD McDonough and JD McDonough's the new champion, or I could see Braun Breaker fighting Tony D'Angelo next. But even if JD McDonough wins, maybe Tony D'Angelo, because they kind of seemingly have him being a babyface still. It's still kind of weird. It's a tweener type role, so he can really do anything Tony D'Angelo can. But potentially Tony D'Angelo could be the number one contender, no matter who wins, Braun or JD McDonough, whenever they have their match. So before we get into tonight's show, just a little bit of news coming out, and it's some big news. So remember when we when WWE transformed NXT Black and Gold into NXT 2.0, they also changed their recruiting policies, and they no longer wanted like those 10-year independent wrestlers, those guys that have been wrestling, and women that have been wrestling for 5, 10, 15 years. They want instead college and pro athletes that WWE could mold in their own image. But now new reports are coming in that they will now recruit indie wrestlers yet again. So going back a month or so, remember there was reports that Triple H not only showed up to the PC, the Performance Center, but said simply, "I'm back." And nobody, even the NXT guys, knew exactly what "I'm back," quote unquote, means. But maybe, just maybe, Triple H is having, if not in charge, at least some power again. And don't forget, his wife is the interim CEO of WWE currently, so it's not out of the question that that could be a thing. So that is exciting news of people from the Black and Gold era that long for the era to come back. I know there's some people that love the NXT 2.0 product because of all the craziness and the gimmicks. I would prefer, like for instance, I always say my favorite promotion or whatever show in the history of wrestling was Lucha Underground. Lucha Underground was never live, always taped way in advance. So like it didn't even have that feel. It was recorded, but it was, what it had was amazing matches and some of the best stories and characters and gimmicks I've ever seen. There was many on-screen deaths. That's how crazy that show was. So if NXT can kind of turn into something like that, maybe a live version, but again, I would think it might be more interesting if they if they're not live anymore. I know some people, especially people that just like to go read spoilers and then never watch the show, wouldn't be into that. But it would give them a chance to maybe throw on some bigger matches, have some more coherent storylines and stuff like that. But that's just something to think about in the future. Anyway, we'll keep an eye on that. Maybe one day Triple H will come back out on NXT product again. Last time Triple H was seen on the NXT product was when he came out to hug Tommaso Ciampa after the Stand and Deliver matches. Ciampa was basically saying his farewell to NXT, and his character as we know it now being a misfit under the Miz, yet another lackey of the Miz. Ciampa is. So anyway, that's not the only news. One bit of news was that The Rock's daughter, Ava Raine, made her NXT debut at the Orlando house show over the weekend in a promo segment. I didn't get to see any video about how good the promo was, but maybe we won't have to wait too much longer to see Ava Raine make her TV debut. I'm excited, but my excitement for that is exactly why Ava will have so much pressure on her shoulders. Everyone in the world, including her, knows all the pressure on her to not only be good but great, having been being the Rock's daughter and a fourth generation wrestler. So a lot of pressure on Ava Raine, and take all the time in the world. You want your debut to be great. So if we don't see her for another couple of months or even 6 months, I'm completely fine with that. That she needs to make a great impact when she does debut. So let's get into it. Or just other bits of news. It looks like Io Shirai, who's been out with an ankle injury ever since Stand and Deliver, is seemingly has one step out of the door of WWE and NXT, looking to maybe go back to Stardom, where they have a little bit more money now. Stardom can pay Io Shirai what she wants, and then she could go wrestle how she wants. So Io Shirai kind of sees the writing on the wall, especially after seeing all those women go up to SmackDown this last year, like Shotzi, Xia Li, and um, what was the other one? Aaliyah, who basically never even got used whatsoever once they got up to the main roster. So it will be tough to see Io Shirai go. She's one of the best women's wrestlers in the world, but maybe just that gives me yet another reason, especially if Sasha Banks also goes to Stardom. We've already got Kairi Sane back at Stardom. Now, if Io Shirai goes there too, there's almost no excuse for me to not start watching. And if I start watching, I'll start reviewing it as well. One of the best, probably the best women's promotion in the entire world. So anyway, one looks like Io Shirai is gone. Her old tag team partner, if you remember, Zoe Stark, is getting closer and closer to returning from a knee injury. Another person out with a knee injury for a long time is Odyssey Jones. If you remember Odyssey Jones, he was in the breakout tournament that had like Duke Hudson and Carmelo Hayes in it as well. Um, I think they're both getting pretty close to returning. So let's get into tonight's show. Let me have a quick drink real quick. Sorry if the intro is a little too long for you guys, but I really like to talk about those house shows and the news before we get into it. And usually I don't talk about the spoilers like I did at the beginning. I started the show by talking about Cora Jade. All right, so NXT 2.0 from July 12th, 2022. We start this week's episode out with a great recap video. If there's one thing WWE does great every single time, they never miss on making great video packages. So we get to see Team 2001 winning their NXT Women's Tag Titles and Roxanne cashing in her contract, and that'll be tonight's main event. And then we got to see a little bit of the match of the night last week versus Mello retaining the North American title against Grayson Waller. I love that match. And then the video package ended with Braun Breaker retaining against Cameron Grimes, but then getting attacked from behind by JD McDonough, who made his debut and suplexed Braun through a picnic table with hot dogs and hot dog buns everywhere. Good image there, really good image. Like not only the attack from behind to end the show, but with the hot dogs and stuff flinging everywhere from the picnic table. So we start out the show and we're in the parking lot. There's officials screaming for help. We can definitely see it's Roxanne Perez on the ground. She is crying and screaming in pain. Cora Jade's there too. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind, as the show has only been on for 30 seconds now, that Cora Jade has turned heel. So we'll find out. But like I said, I already kind of spoiled it at the beginning. Cora Jade is heel. If you watched my review last week, it was clear as day that this was going to happen. I've watched 30 years of WWE. I definitely can see when this is going to happen. But I do write down it's either Cora Jade or KO because or whoever. Remember when Hideo with Tommy got attacked in the parking lot and we never found out who it was? It was always assumed that it was KO, but we never really found out. So maybe KO took out Roxanne Perez. He has been missing from TV for a couple of weeks, so you never know. So we see that only lasted a couple seconds, but it was pretty chaotic. Roxanne was like crying and screaming. A bunch of officials were calling for help, and then we go to the ring. So Giovanni's making his entrance. Usually I find his entrance hilarious and awesome, but under this backdrop where Roxanne just got attacked, it was really awkward. The announcers are fretting over the Roxanne attack. Vic immediately says it had to be Toxic Attraction, but then Wade Barrett says, well, it could have been anyone, and lists off people like Thea Hale and Amari Miller. And like I said, I do love Vinci's entrance, though. And if you don't know who Giovanni Vinci is, that's the former Fabian Eichner. Basically with an aristocratic rich guy gimmick now. And Apollo Crews is out next. His new music is generic and not very good whatsoever. And I just watched last night because I was there was a Ezekiel versus Ciampa match, so I wanted to see if those two were ever in the ring together in NXT, and they were only in the ring once, and it was Apollo Crews winning a battle royal back in October of 2015 on NXT to become the number one contender to Finn's title. I watched that whole episode, actually. It was really good. It was right after the Iron Woman match between Bayley and Sasha Banks, where it started out with a really good, passionate promo about Bayley, about women's wrestling. Really reminded me of why I became an NXT fan in the first place. So that was fun to watch. And there was the people in that battle royal was a who's who of people. There's 5 people still in the WWE or NXT. There's 5 people now in AEW. 4 of them are in Impact, and then 1 of them's in MLW. So pretty crazy match to go back and watch. These two have met once before. So when it was Fabian Eichner, he fought Apollo Crews back in 2019 on a dark match for the Worlds Collide NXT versus NXT alumni event. So Apollo won that match. Let's see if he can win again. The crowd's chanting Apollo as we start with some really good grappling. I like the catch as catch can amateur wrestling style that we started out with here. Some of my favorite stuff. This is going to be a good one I write down. Vinci has a really weird beige, like flesh-colored gear on, which I never like when people wear flesh-colored gear because it just kind of gives off the illusion that they're like out there naked or whatever. So a bad look there. Looked super awkward. The pace now quickens up from that amateur style grappling while when Vinci runs off really fast and hits a shoulder tackle. Then they chop each other super hard. The crowd went wild for this spot, and we just started. So the pace quickens up again after that. Apollo hits some nice looking drop kick and takes control with some big strikes and even more chops that were devastating sounding. Apollo blocks an attack and hits a perfect middle rope blockbuster. But you remember my Raw review from last night? I noted that the Montez Ford standing blockbuster that he did last night got just as much height as a normal person's middle rope blockbuster. So here I am the very next night seeing a middle rope blockbuster by an athletic guy, Apollo. And yes, Montez Ford's standing blockbuster got just as much height as Apollo Cruz's middle rope blockbuster. And that's nothing against Apollo Cruz. That's just how insane Montez Ford is. Anyway, going back to this match, Vinci turns it around with a belly-to-belly suplex right over the top rope. That was a good-looking spot. One little mistake, and you could be injured on that one. Vinci goes right after the attack, sends Apollo into the barricade as we go to a picture-in-picture ad break. And then I write down, thank you, NXT. We needed the picture-in-picture ad break for this one, just like last night during the Ray versus Finn match. I'm still upset that they didn't give us a picture-in-picture ad break for that one. Vinci then hits a neck breaker back in the ring for a 2 count. Vinci slows the pace way down now and tries to wear down Apollo Crews. Apollo tries to fight back, but Vinci gets a front face lock applied to keep control, and Apollo's in big-time trouble. Vinci lets go and it wears down Apollo a little bit more and then applies the same front face lock. When we come back from the break, Apollo hits a really big knee to turn the momentum. Or I mean, not a knee, but like a kick, almost like an Inseguri kick. Looked awesome. The pace quickens big time as Apollo now goes on the attack. He hits some running strikes and big suplexes. The crowd even chants Suplex City after those. Great stuff here by Apollo. Love seeing him. Remember, Apollo was relegated to the 24/7 division on Raw, with the rest of the 24/7 brigade, which he did not belong a part of, and neither does T-Bar. Unfortunately, T-Bar is still a part of that brigade and needs to come back to NXT as Dominic Dijakovic tomorrow, let alone yesterday, let alone tomorrow. I messed that up. But anyway, I left off on the crowd chanting Suplex City. The announcers now tell us they don't know if the NXT women's title match will be able to take place after the attack on Roxanne Perez, but it is not canceled yet, and that match does end up taking place. And I write down here, which probably means Roxanne will tough it out, causing her to lose in the end, which is true pretty much. I mean, also the other thing I guess happened as well. So Vinci's now fighting back. An amazing move now. Apollo goes off the ropes, and Vinci catches Apollo like by the head and shoulder and neck area and deadlifts, suplex up. Hard to describe, but the move looked amazing. Really showed off the strength of Giovanni Vinci. Then super difficult to pull off too. So Apollo fights back after this and hits his side power bomb. I don't know what you call it, but Vinci's able to roll out of the ring. Vinci then weirdly steals a phone from a fan, steals one of the fans' phones, and this distracts the referee. It'll be weird if they ever try to explain what the heck here, but anyway, out of the crowd in street clothes, he had been there the whole time, kind of hanging out in the Chase U section, cheering section, wearing a red hat and stuff. Zion Quinn jumps out of the crowd, attacks Apollo Crews from behind with a big forearm to the back of the head, and rolls Crews in. The referee didn't see it. Vinci then hits the spinning last ride, Kota Ibushi style, for the 1-2-3. The winner by pinfall is Giovanni Vinci, and he does his freeze frame Victoria with Apollo Crews laying on the ground mad in the background. So another thing I was definitely able to call was that Zion Quinn was gonna cost Apollo Crews this match, and maybe that means that Apollo Crews can't see into the future, because for 2 weeks now they've kind of gone back on the whole Apollo Crews can see into the future thing, which was almost basically confirmed a couple weeks ago. But now we should have, or like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, Apollo would have known that Zion Quinn was in the crowd and was going to do that, unless this was part of Apollo Crews's grand plan. But if Apollo Crews's grand plan is to win the NXT title, why would he ever want to lose a match? So this kind of confirms that Apollo Crews cannot, I repeat, cannot see into the future, which is kind of unfortunate. I was looking forward to that storyline, but maybe they'll pick it back up. But then if they do pick it back up, we can look back at a moment like this and say, well, why didn't you know that Zion Quinn was going to do that? Why haven't you won every single match in NXT since you've now unlocked the ability to see into the future? So see what I'm saying? A little messy on that one, but I like where it's going overall. I like the new Apollo Crews character. I like that he came back to NXT, and I like that he said he had unfinished business, because after Apollo won that number one contendership battle royal back in 2015, he failed in his NXT title match against Finn Balor, which he brought up. Apollo Crews brought that up when he first came back to NXT, saying, I left a little early and I have unfinished business. I never got that title. So now Cora Jade's in the back talking super fast. She's talking like this and trying to explain what happened to Roxanne. So clearly showing that she's guilty. Then Cora slows down and calmly blames toxic attraction. So there's absolutely no way that Cora didn't do it. If you got through this entire episode and you were still surprised that Cora Jade turned heel, consider yourself lucky. You can watch wrestling like I don't want to say anything discouraging, but I am a little bit jealous of how you can watch wrestling and still be surprised like that. I've been predicting that Cora Jade was turning heel from the second this match was announced, and then everything that we've seen has also been giant like arrows pointing. She's heel. She's the one that did it. So anyway, Cameron Grimes is in dress clothes and he doesn't look very happy. Remember, he lost the main event match last week. So he's about to come out and say something as we go to an ad break. When we come back, we see earlier today. We get a lot of earlier today, which I like when they say that. They could always say earlier this week too, just to break it up. And so that everything doesn't happen on a Tuesday, they could have something happen on Monday or whatever. But anyway, earlier today, we see Tiffany Stratton getting her nails done. And she says, that I needed this after last week. I can't even look at my nails. There's still dirt under them. But in the end, I beat that overgrown child, Wendy Chu. I need to leave Candyland behind and go after the NXT Women's Championship. So that's good news here. Tiffany Stratton's probably my favorite woman in NXT, even though I recognize that Roxanne Perez is probably 4 times better in the ring than her. But as far as character work and promos go, I think Tiffany Stratton's gonna be a star, and she's only had about 20 matches under her belt now, and has improved so much from match number 1 to match number 20. Now Cameron Grimes is making his way out, looking disappointed, head hanging down, shoulders slumped, and the crowd chants "to the moon," but Grimes isn't even affected by this. Grimes gets a microphone and says, "I wish I could come out here with an excuse as to why I didn't win the NXT title, but I can't. I didn't get robbed. I hit the cave in, but the 3 never came. Now Braun's at home in a sling. I learned that you can do everything the right way, and it might not be good enough. I lost the North American title, and now I lost the Braun. I guess I'm destined to be a loser. I was going to go to the moon, but then I crashed into the sun." I like that line a lot. I like whoever thought of that line, give them a raise. All of a sudden, JD McDonough's music now hits the same exact music he's always had as Jordan Devlin. He then JD then says, "Well, I don't want to kick a guy while he's down, but I'm gonna come out here and kick a guy while he's down." Not It's not that funny of a line. I get what he was going for with that, but you had a great match last week, he says, but wrap up this pity party. I hate to break the news to you, but about 30 seconds after you lost, the whole game changed when JD McDonough debuted. So Grimes then says, "I know who you are and what you did, so why don't you just jump me too?" JD then eventually hits a headbutt, really good looking headbutt, reminding me of KO headbutting Vince McMahon, which I'll never forget ever. JD, this just fires up Grimes, who doesn't go down. So JD has to bail the ring. Grimes is furious and yelling, but does not go after JD, which always looks stupid. Now we see in the Diamond Mine gym, maybe a different part of the gym than we're used to. We're in the film study room, and it's the Creeds and Damon Kemp watching back their match last week. Remember, the Creeds pinned Kemp in the NXT Men's Tag Team title match. Kemp basically at the end tells them, "Let's run it back again," and they all shake hands, and the Creeds leave. Then Roddy comes in with his hood up, looking pissed. Roddy says, "Did you really just say run it back again? You cost me the NXT tag titles. Maybe you're not good enough. I want to see how you feel after I embarrass you next week." So that will set up a Damon Kemp versus Roderick Strong match next week. That'll be pretty interesting. I'm really liking where they're going with all this tough love stuff, and maybe they're not going to break up. Maybe Dynamite isn't going to break up at the end of this. Maybe all of them are going to turn heel. Maybe Damon Kemp and the Creeds and Ivy Nile are all going to turn heel with Roddy and take some of his advice, and maybe we'll get like Ivy Nile and Tatum Paxley winning the women's titles, and we could get Damon Kemp or Roderick Strong winning the North American or something along those lines. So that's a potential thing to do. The answer that's probably the easiest answer is that they're just going to break up. But I would like to see them all kind of turn heel and start taking some of Roddy's advice, because Roddy is a veteran. So I don't understand why they wouldn't be taking his advice more. If you know what I'm saying. So out next is Kayden Carter. She's accompanied by Katana Chance. So this will be a rare singles match here for Kayden. They still have their babyface entrance with the crowd cheering and them on as well, despite acting like major heels the last couple of weeks, these two. After the break, Kayden Carter will fight Tatum Paxley, and this match was set up last week when Ivy Nile had to break up a little argument between Katana, Kayden, and Tatum. Tatum was then invited to train at the Diamond Mine gym after Tatum has been begging to be a part of the Diamond Mine for about 4 months. So good story development here, some long-term storytelling. Of course, it could have just been they forgot about it and then brought it back, but either way, when we come back from break, Grayson Waller's in the back now, and he says, "If last week was based on points, I would have won, and Wesley cost me the title. I get it. His life sucks, but that doesn't mean he has to ruin mine." So it looks like we've got a Grayson Waller Wesley match coming up. Grayson really impressed in the match against Mello. We'll see if he can do it again here against Wesley, another really good wrestler. And I'm assuming this is going to set up Wesley versus um, Carmelo Hayes for the NXT North American title at some point soon, which is going to be an amazing match. So now we see a little brief shot of Roxanne Perez. She's in pain, crying in the trainer's room. And now we see Tatum Paxley is already in the ring, but at least her music's still playing. We see a little recap of last week that set up this match, but I've already explained it to you. Tatum and Kayden have met in the ring once or twice before. Last time it was one-on-one on a level up in March, where Kayden actually won that match. And before that, they met in the first round of this year's Dusty Classic when Kayden and Katana beat Ivy and Tatum. And that's kind of where the whole Ivy and Tatum partnership started. If you remember, after that match, Ivy not only yelled, but I think even assaulted Tatum, saying that Tatum wasn't good enough, get out of here kind of deal. Tatum's been trying to fight hard to get into the Diamond Mine ever since. So this match starts with some really good intensity, good stuff there, showing that they have a reason to fight. It's not just a random here's a wrestling match. So that I like when the people come out with intensity when it's like a match that has story behind it. Great stuff there. Tatum then counters a lariat into a crossface submission hold. That looked pretty good. The crowd rallies behind Kayden immediately. So this crowd does not want Kayden Carter and Katana Chance heel. So maybe they'll not turn heel after all. We'll have to wait and see. We get super revealing shorts on Paxley, who has monstrous quads. Pretty good look for her there. Kayden then takes control and kicks Tatum out of the match. I'll try and call her Paxley from now on since their names sound similar. This causes Ivy to run down and help Paxley get up. Paxley then dodges a move and hits a nice drop kick and a neck breaker. Then Paxley hits a sweet looking standing corkscrew senton. Loved that move. Kayden's in trouble now, but counters a kick into a trailer hitch leg lock. Really good looking move there. Great match so far. Someone's really been training these women up well. Ivy coaches up Paxley, who then goes back in the ring and just simply rolls up Kayden Carter for the 1-2-3. The winner by pinfall is Tatum Paxley. Quick ending, kind of out of nowhere there, but a really good match. I like to see a lot of moves that we've never seen from people that are learning. So good stuff there. Paxley has zero time to celebrate, and we just go on to the next segment. So no entrance and no celebration for Paxley, but at least she got a match and she looked good while doing it, both physically and good match. Joe Gacy now on the video screen, and he's got the dyad with him. If you don't know, it's pretty much confirmed. Well, it's not confirmed, but we've seen the dyad wrestle, and it's clearly the grizzled young veterans, Drake and Gibson, because I've seen them wrestle before, and they wrestle the same as the dyad. But Gacy now says the dyad are ready to reveal themselves next week. So this should be interesting. We'll see if it is indeed the grizzled young veterans. Maybe they take their masks off and like maybe now they're both bald or something where we don't really like necessarily recognize them, or maybe they just look the exact same, or we don't know. So I'm interested as for sure to see where the heck this goes. Of course, they could also just all of a sudden make it be like Edris Enofe and Malik Blade. That's not what I think it's going to be, but I'm just using it as an example. Clearly, it was grizzled young veterans wrestling under the hoods before, but they could do anything they want. You see what I'm saying? So it could be Vince McMahon. It was me, Austin, all along. So you never know what it's going to be. So earlier today, we see Sanga. He's in the back watching his cannonball into the pool on Duke Hudson last week during the opening of the NXT, which it was never addressed. But you remember that opening of NXT Great American Bash last week? Seemingly when when Fallon Henley lit the grill, it seemingly destroyed the entire party and ended the life of everybody at the party, but apparently everybody's fine. So they're just watching this back. Sanga's got Ulyssa Leon and Valentina Feroz again with him, which always makes Sanga look super cool. He's got a woman on each arm recently. Duke Hudson then walks up and says he's mad because he had water in his ear all week. So Sanga just challenges Duke to a match later. Like, all right, what do you want to do? Fight later? So Duke says yes. That'll be a definite Hoss fight later on. Should be a good one. I didn't say should be. I said hopefully it's a good one. So it ended up being all right. It was pretty short, so no complaints. After a break, then we come back. Earlier today, we're in the Fallon Henley bar that her family owns and that Fallon Henley also works at. Fallon is serving drinks to Briggs and Jensen and other people in the bar. Then Pretty Deadly, dressed as cowboys, walk in and they start talking like cowboys or Southerners or whatever. And they eventually tell Briggs and Jensen that they want the NXT UK tag titles. Briggs and Jensen want a bar fight right now, but Fallon, right when it's about to start, Fallon yells at the top of her lungs, "Not in my bar, but you guys can have the match next week on NXT." So later on, it's confirmed that this will be for the NXT UK title, and it should be interesting. There's no telling who's going to win that match. I have no idea. Briggs and Jensen were never supposed to have the NXT UK titles to begin with. They had just been won by these guys. Really cool. They're the hottest tag team under the sun is their name. Ashton Carter and Oliver. Um, Oliver something. But anyway, Ashton got injured right in the match they won the tag titles. So they had to quickly figure out who to put him on. And we've been having a lot. If you're not following the NXT UK, you probably should be a lot every single week. You get at least one, maybe sometimes two NXT 2.0 guys or girls in matches. Like last week, I don't know if you saw it, but one of the most vicious, if you've been wondering where Saray is, she's over in UK. And she hit one of the most vicious drop kicks to the seated opponent on the ropes I've ever seen, basically taking the head off of Xia Brookside. If you haven't seen that GIF online, definitely go look that up. Anyway, should be interesting. Like I said, we have no idea who's going to win that match because Briggs and Jensen were never supposed to have the titles to begin with. They were never supposed to come here to America. So after that, in the ring already, we get a tiniest little bit of Duke Hudson's entrance music as he does his pose. No entrance whatsoever for Sanga. These two have had one match before. Sanga won at a house show back in June 25th. So they start the match fast, seemingly as if this match got added late and they don't have much time, so they have to work fast, which ended up being pretty good because it's not that often you get to see this big of guys working a fast match in WWE. So no complaints there from me. Sanga shakes off some attacks and hits a nice shoulder tackle. Look good. Really good bump by Duke as well. He helped make that look good. Duke then rolls out of the ring, catches Sanga off guard, and then works on the knee a little bit. Duke does. Sanga then blocks some strikes, but Duke rips and snags out chest hair of the very hairy Sanga to keep control. I've never seen that before. I can't say I want to ever again, but interesting move nonetheless. The crowd's now rallying big time behind Sanga after that dirty tactic, who Sanga then takes back control with a side slam, hits a nice standing elbow drop. Duke blocks the next two moves, but then gets caught with a goozle and choke slam by Sanga for the 1-2-3. Your winner by pinfall is Sanga. Short but sweet match here. Good to see big guys wrestling a quick paced match. I'm completely fine with this being short. If this was a real match and two big hosses like this are wrestling this fast, you better believe if this was a real fight, it's not going to last very long. So no complaints, like I said. In the back now, Mr. Stone is talking about Solo Sikoa, and he's saying, yeah, you're a savage fighter, but Von Wagner, he's a beast or whatever. Then Mr. Stone and Sofia Cromwell put over how Von Wagner could have been in football or baseball, but chose NXT instead. Von Wagner interrupts them and says, well, this isn't football or baseball. So, interesting. Solo elsewhere immediately after this says, Von Wagner, you're a bad man, but try that on me. It's put up or shut up for you, but it's time for me. But it's go time for me. I messed that up. Trust me, Solo said that way better than I did. I did not sound intimidating whatsoever. So after the break, that match is going to be next. They've met once before. It was this last weekend's house show where Solo won. So in the back now, Toxic Attraction are being questioned by the interviewer if they attacked Roxanne Perez. Of course, they said no. Mackenzie brings up how Mandy said last week if Roxanne even makes it to the match. Mandy says, well, when you're champion, things have a way of just falling in place. So again, pretty much if you somehow made it to the end and you didn't see it coming, that's shocking. But I'm not making fun of you. I'm jealous of you that you can watch a show like this and still be surprised. So Sikoa comes out the big cheers now. Then of course Von Wagner to massive boos. So this should be good just from the crowd's hatred and liking of these guys alone. They get in the ring and square up with each other. Solo seems to have some like shorter boxing shorts on than usual, and they kind of poof out at the hips. So it kind of gives Solo Sikoa like a Umaga or Rikishi looking wide hips. Kind of funny there. Solo works a headlock, and then there's a really long feeling out process to start this match. So unlike the last match with the two big guys where they started super fast, this one starts super slow. Solo then tries to quicken the pace by hitting a shoulder tackle and a scoop slam and a diving headbutt for a 2 count, not from the top rope, just from a standing position. Solo then hits a terrible looking running senton. Barely didn't even hit Von Wagner, brushed him with the back of his head. Terrible looking move. Von Wagner then rolls out of the ring as we go to an ad break. No picture-in-picture ad break, weirdly, but I guess they don't trust Von Wagner to be entertaining enough. And oh well, I kind of agree with them, and I needed to go get a drink anyway. So since I said that, I'll take a drink real quick. But when we come back, Von Wagner, it looks like he had been in control the entire ad break, which, yeah, none of us wanted to watch Von Wagner's offense during the ad break. Not even me, who watches every single episode of Level Up. I had no care to watch Von Wagner's heat spot here. So when we come back, of course, Von Wagner was in control all break. The crowd is booing big time. And Von Wagner has a simple chin lock locked in. So looks like we didn't miss anything good. Solo tries to fight back, but Von Wagner strikes him down again. Mr. Stone is now talking trash to Solo as the crowd starts an ooh, so chant. Good stuff there. Solo then dodges a corner lariat and hits a back suplex to buy some time to recover. And they get up at the same time. Solo blocks a bunch of strikes and hits strikes of his own. Von Wagner then kicks Solo in the face, but Solo no sells it and just yells. That was a cool looking move. Or I mean, like, spot. Then Solo takes down Von Wagner. Solo hits the running hip attack into the corner to big cheers. The fight then somehow just seemingly is all of a sudden outside. Right after that, Solo no sells another headshot, and the referee's counting super fast. So you know what that means. All of a sudden, the ref counts to 10. Both men have been counted out. This will be a no contest or a draw. So we just kind of move on, but that is not the last time we see those guys tonight. So now this was pretty cool. We see Mello and Trick Williams. They're it's the after party from last week's Great American Bash. They're walking through the city with about 4 men's. Is WWE getting boring? Well, they had the worst SmackDown of all time last Friday, but at least NXT is pretty good. So now we see Mello and Trick. They're having an after party after Great American Bash. They're walking through the city with 4 women, and Mello wants to take it to the penthouse. So hey, look, it's Joe Gacy's penthouse where he said he wanted to rule the world that one time. But apparently it's also Mello and Trick's penthouse. Mello then talks to Trick as if they grew up together, which I think is kayfabe. The women now say, let's take it to the hot tub. So we see the 6 of them drinking champagne in the hot tub. As Mello says, shout out to all the haters. And we see the North American title in the background with champagne bottles. Really good little video there. So in the back now, Lash Legend is dribbling a basketball around. Remember, she was made it all the way to the WNBA, and she cuts a good promo. Really, really good promo here about how she's going to beat up Indy Hartwell next. Awesome promo. Go look this one up. If they give Lash Legend some time to get her matches straightened out, she could definitely be a star. She's already got her character and promos down. So Lash is ready to go make her entrance and rolls the basketball away. But before we can go to ad break, we see a red baseball bat stop the basketball. So Alba Fyre will definitely be watching this match closely, and this will be the first in-ring meeting between Lash Legend and Indy Hartwell. So after the break, the announcers are putting over the Brock and Roman match at SummerSlam and then send us, oh, here's a look at Chase U's field trip to London. So we see Andre Chase, Bodie Hayward, and Thea Hale doing some sightseeing around London. Weirdly, they said, let's split up and leave Thea alone, which is weird. Bodie then is still annoyed by Thea Hale. They cross around Abbey's Road, do some other things. Andre Chase says he will be knighted, but we never see it. Andre reads off something. He's like reading off something that somebody else wrote, and he's like, "Chase U is the 7th best," and then stops and freaks out. Andre like, "Who wrote this?" And then starts cussing out some guy off screen. Really funny. I love when he does that. He's like, "I'm gonna beat your beat." So Indy Hartwell's now making her entrance. Already in the ring is Lash Legend. Lash keeps evolving her look, hair, makeup, and of course her lashes. Good stuff here. Lash starts strong using her size and strength advantage, but Indy shows that some good grappling and is able to counter and out wrestle Lash. The fight spills to the outside where Lash then rams Indy's back into the apron. This gives Lash control. The crowd immediately rallies behind Indy. They do not like Lash Legend. A few last chants as well, though, break out, which is the first time I've ever heard any last chants. So maybe that video of Lash talking about her background about a month ago helped get a little bit more respect, at least. Indy's now wearing, Lash is now wearing Indy down and locks in a standing surfboard. That looks pretty good. I've also seen Lash hit a slam out of that move for her finisher. So keep that in mind for future Lash Legend matches. But Lash is able to power out of a sunset flip, but Indy uses her agility to dodge attacks. Indy then hits a side slam for a 2 count. Wade is mentioning that Indy used to be showed the way. So we got the way mentioned on NXT tonight. And with rumors of Triple H coming back, you never know if Johnny Wrestling could return at any point. So something to keep an eye out. The at the top of the studio, red lights and mist show us are surrounding Alba Fyre, who is holding on to the basketball. This is enough to distract Lash Legend. For Indy Hartwell to roll Lash up for the 1-2-3. The winner by pinfall is Indy Hartwell. So now Alba Fyre is in the ring, and she goes to hit Lash Legend with the baseball twice, but Lash dodges both swings and runs away. So the crowd, for some reason, is cheering this, even though it's seemingly, I don't think Lash has been that heelish. And then you've got Alba Fyre costing her a match and trying to assault her with a baseball bat, but the crowd loves it. Anyway, in the back, we see, this was funny, Valentina Ferrar, Ulysses Leon, Amiri Miller, Sloane Jacobs, and Ariana Grace are all talking in the makeup room, and they look like they're about to have some kind of argument or whatnot. But before they can, out of nowhere, Solo Sikoa and Von Wagner, still fighting, break into the room or spill into the room with officials coming behind, yelling at them to stop and stuff. Really funny. I did not expect to see that in that segment. Now in the back, Tony D'Angelo and his entire family is there, other than Santos Escobar, who Tony D'Angelo said he was sent to the hospital. So Elektra Lopez says she didn't attack Roxanne. And then Tony says, well, since I never gave the order to attack Roxanne Perez, it couldn't have been us. Tony then tells Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde that this is their very last chance to prove their loyalty to the family or else. And he already, Tony D established what or else means by showing a picture to everybody of Santos Escobar in a hospital bed. So Tony makes Elektra stay in the back, and the 4 men make their entrance as we go to ad break. And then I have no idea what to expect in this match. It could be anything. Santos might run out, fight Tony. Santos could come out and turn on Cruz and Joaquin, or Joaquin could prove themselves or just fail. So I have literally no idea what's going to happen here. Unlike my first guess being in the Roxanne cashing in her contract, being Cora is going to turn heel on her. But on this one, I have no clue, which is good. But I do write down, well, maybe since Cora Jade's been there's no way you couldn't, from the way she was acting, tell that Cora did it. So maybe it was going to be a red herring, but it ended up not being. It was just Cora. So after the break, we see Sol and Sikoa and Von Wagner still fighting. Now they're in the parking lot. Sofia Cromwell is able to, but then Mr. Stone gets in the face and talks trash to Sol Sikoa. Mr. Stone gets thrown into the dumpster, and hilariously, the dumpster has 2.0 NXT 2.0 like branding and color splatter on it, which was hilarious. We see another one of those barcodes to scan, but I am not downloading something on my phone for that. Last week I heard it was a bunch of numbers that really didn't mean anything. Maybe it'll mean something at the end, but you'll just have to go find other info about where that barcode to scan. I'm not doing that. Anyway, in the ring now, the bell rings, and it's already Edris, Enofe, and Malik Blade in the ring. 0 introduction, let alone an entrance. That's pretty crap. They'll take on Tony D'Angelo and Channing Stacks Lorenzo. Tony's taking apart Edris and keeping it isolated with some quick tags. Then we're told like Nikita Lyons will address the NXT universe next. So maybe I do write down maybe Cora was a red herring and Nikita attacked Roxanne, but since Nikita didn't win the breakout tournament because she got injured, so that would have been at least maybe a reason. So it's definitely hard to care about this match right here when there was no announcement of it or introductions. And I do love both these teams, but I just wasn't feeling this one. It doesn't help that one of my favorites, Edris Enofe, is getting destroyed pretty much all the first 75% of this match. The crowd was dead for this too, so they weren't feeling it. They finally give a couple rally claps for Edris. Edris is able to counter and dodge a move to tag in Malik Blade. The crowd gets super loud now. Malik comes in with some good hot tag offense. Usually I think of Edris being the hot tag guy on this team, but it's good to see both can do it. Tony then throws Edris into the steps outside the ring. Tony tags in himself and hits the fisherman swinging suplex for the 1-2-3 on Malik Blade. And your winners are Tony D'Angelo and Stacks Channing Lorenzo. So Joaquim and Cruz then beat up Edris and Malik after the match, and Tony's happy with them. So seemingly that proved their loyalty. But I don't really remember. Like I feel like there wasn't really anything that Cruz del Toro and Joaquim did during the match to show their loyalty. Maybe I missed something. Maybe they tripped a leg or something. But just beating up a couple guys after the match doesn't really prove anything to me personally. But Tony D'Angelo was cool with it. So holy crap, Nikita Lyons is in the back. Her chest is sticking out so much that's making my 2D TV look like a 3D TV all of a sudden. Kind of ridiculous. But Nikita whisper talks her way. It was a really bad promo. She, for every reason, thought it was a good idea to whisper talk. Nikita Lyons says, "Sure, I had the most to gain from this, but I'm not the type of woman to attack from behind. If Roxanne can't go, I'll put my gear on right now. There's no," and then she leaves. So I'm right. There's absolutely no way she can get that tight gear on her around her curves in that fast of time. But maybe I'm wrong. I've never put tight gear on around curves before. So anyway, we see all three members of Toxic Attraction walk in the back, and we're about to find out what's going to happen for the main event. So it's pretty much everything I predicted. Anyway, when we come back, we get another Axiom video vignette. So if you don't know, from last week's Axiom is a kid being repackaged. So last week Axiom told us about, oh, he was in the math and got bullied about being so good at math, and when he closes his eyes he sees numbers and stuff like that. So this time Axiom tells us that he always has read comics and he's a big superhero fan. Then we see Axiom put a mask on, so he is going to be a masked wrestler, which is a little awkward, I would think, or in my opinion. But anyway, Axiom says he wants to stay anonymous, and Axiom will debut next week. So it's a little weird to put a mask on him, a kid that is. This crowd has never shown before that they're not going to chant like old guys' names. Like we've seen Fabian Eichner turn into Giovanni Vinci, and we've seen Kaylee Ray turn into Alba Fyre, and the crowd never chants the old name. So it's not because of that. Maybe they thought A-Kid had a bad look. I thought he had a good look. But A-Kid is great in the ring, a beautiful blend of technical ability and high flying. So apparently this Axiom character is going to give him a little bit more of a, I don't know, je ne sais quoi to his character. He's now a math wizard who loves comics and superheroes. So at least a little something to go with him. So next week, we're told it's going to be JD McDonough versus Cameron Grimes, and that's going to be a great match. Of course, JD McDonough is probably going to win. You can't have him lose right when he changed his name and stuff, but that's going to be a great match. And then also, it is confirmed it will be for the NXT UK tag titles, Briggs and Jensen versus Pretty Deadly. So it's main event time. Let me get another quick drink. So Toxic Attraction make their entrance. Huge Mandy chant from the crowd. This is the biggest Mandy chants I've ever heard, pretty much ever, which is a little weird because you would think of Roxanne Perez being one of the most popular in the company. But here we go. Mandy gets on the mic and says, "It's been long enough. Roxanne Perez isn't woman enough to challenge me tonight, but I don't blame her. She can't beat me. No one can." And the crowd seemingly learned their lesson from getting censored from USA Network about 40 times last week in a 2-hour show, and the crowd chants "Shut the hell up" instead of "Shut the f up." So, good stuff from the crowd there, because all those chants being censored last week was really annoying. Now all of a sudden Cora Jade's music hits. So Cora comes out. She's got her skateboard, her tag title, and different makeup. So again, if you were still surprised at the end of this, after she even had a different makeup look to make her look you could tell at the end of the show she's made to look more evil. But Cora comes out, and her voice even sounds different when she's talking now. It's almost like a deeper voice, acting more mean and stuff. Cora says, if Roxanne can't go, I'll take her spot. Mandy then says, I'll give Roxanne a count of, but before she can even finish her sentence, Roxanne Perez's music hits. She's got her ribs heavily taped and is pretty much limping to the ring, even though it's her ribs, hunched over. I mean, the bell rings. This is going to be an official title match, and here we go. Roxanne hits the Luthez press at the very beginning, but Mandy just shakes it off, punches Roxy in the ribs once, and that takes Roxy down. So Mandy hits a fallaway slam. The crowd's chanting Mandy instead of Roxanne, which there is a few Roxy chants as well. Then the Roxy fans start a bigger chant of Roxy 2 belts. So there is dueling chants throughout this match. Mandy's in control this entire time. She's looking incredible tonight as usual, but man, just looks jacked. She looks like she could lift like so much weights and still looks amazing. But Roxy is crying as we go to a pitcher ad break. Cora's looking on concerned. She's still ringside, and the rest of Toxic Attraction are also out there. Mandy dominates the entire ad break. There was one hope spot for Roxy during the ad break, but Mandy quickly snuffed it out. When we come back, Mandy hits a nice spine. It was a decent average spine buster for 2 count. Roxanne then keeps trying to sneak out with some pins, getting no other offense otherwise, but Roxanne keeps trying pinning combinations. This begs the question why Mandy isn't just locking in the abdominal stretch until she gives up. But anyway, Roxanne springs off the ropes with a crossbody. This hurts Roxy's ribs, but buys enough time to recover. So Roxy stays in control, quickens the pace now. Big strikes and a really nice, like, the way you might flip into an armbar, but instead of an armbar, Roxanne does it into a Russian leg sweep. That looked great, and that gets a 2 count for Roxy. So the crowd's super loud for Roxanne now. Mandy blocks the pop Rox finisher, and then Roxy drives to the outside on the Mandy. So here we go. Now that we're up outside and the show's about to end, we're about to get something here. So here comes Gigi and Jacy. They try to interfere, and probably they were fine with getting Mandy disqualified kind of deal, but Roxy is able to take both of them out. Then, to the surprise of absolutely no one, or maybe most people, I should say, Cora Jade then takes Roxy out with a title shot from behind with the same tag title that they are partners being champions with. Mandy just simply covers Roxanne for the 1-2-3. Your winner by pinfall, and still NXT Women's Champion is Mandy Rose. Cora looks happy with her decision. She looks on evilly. She puts her best evil face on. Looked pretty good. This is what I noticed. Even the makeup was different on Cora Jade. If you were still having any doubts if she was going to turn tonight. So Toxic Attraction leaves. So that pretty much confirms that Cora Jade is not joining Toxic Attraction, which makes sense if you ask me, but I'm not going to explain why. You should know what I mean when I say that. Cora then tells Roxy that I brought you here. This is what you do. So a little bit of a weak explanation there. Hopefully we get a better promo from Cora Jade next week with a better explanation. But Cora then brutally attacks the already injured ribs of Roxanne with her skateboard, breaking the skateboard in half. Cora then freaks out, and like I said, pretty much we could tell this was going to happen, but I've never been a big fan of the Cora Jade character, even after the Natalya stuff. So I have seen that Cora Jade's really good heel when I saw some of her stuff in the indies. So I think this is going to be for the better for sure. And it should be a good story going forward with the whole, they're both tag team champions. So how's that going to play out? But yeah, the Cora explanation here was weak. Cora was in NXT too long to be in the Cora wasn't eligible to be in the breakout tournament. She was in NXT too long. So Roxanne just got here, wins the contract. Then Roxanne said she'll cash in the contract for a tag title shot with Cora. But then they happen to win a number one contendership match and the tag team titles without Roxy having the user contract. So I guess the only complaint Cora could have is that Roxanne took the shine off of their tag title win last weekend by announcing that she's going to go for the NXT title next week. So they didn't even get to really celebrate for 24 hours or even like an hour before Cora kind of got some of the spotlight taken off her by Roxanne saying that. So apparently this made Cora mad or even jealous. And from what I've seen, like I said, Cora should be a great heel. And I never liked the Cora Jade face character, even after the Natty Field. So I love that Roxanne was. I love Roxanne Perez, but I was kind of just putting up with Cora. So now we'll see those two in a battle where who knows, I might like Cora Jade a lot more now that I get to see her heel persona. So that's the end of the show this week. We've set up some really good stuff for next week. I'm assuming we're going to start next week's show with a Cora Jade promo. That should be interesting. And maybe we won't even see Roxanne Perez next week. Maybe they'll have her sell her injuries for a whole week. And maybe something like, I don't know, Mandy will come out and say, good job. Or maybe a Nikita Lyons will come out and say, how dare you, or something along those lines. So we'll have to see where that goes. We've also got an NXT UK tag title match set up for next week, as well as JD McDonough versus Cameron Grimes. And I think a couple other things were announced. I think one of them was Wes Lee versus Grayson Waller, which should be a really good match. I'm really looking forward to that one. And I think we set up Roderick Strong versus Damon Kemp. So another Diamond Mine versus Diamond Mine match. And hopefully we get to see more. I'm really looking forward to something between Ivy Nile and Tatum Paxley. So I haven't seen what's on a Level Up yet this week. I could just do a quick search before I head out here to see if there's anything interesting of note on NXT Level Up, and it's not up yet. So I will be here for sure on Friday to let you know what happens on Level Up, and check out all my other reviews as well. I do all the AEW shows, NXT UK. Definitely, if you have not been watching NXT UK, go watch that. All the NXT 2.0 guys are on there. And yeah, I do MLW, NWA, New Japan, all kinds of stuff. So, and as well as one of the deepest, if you're an NXT fan, check out my streams for WWE 2K Universe mode. Probably there's nobody else out there in the world that has like Saul Rucka and Damaris Griffin and all those people from the Performance Center. So check those out if you're interested. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Thanks for tuning in and have a great one. Peace.